All right, bold ones, let's cut to the chase about your show reel, specifically the first 3 seconds. Yeah. Did you see that article about the casting directors that watch up to 4 seconds of your show reel? Well, I said three because that's roughly how long you have to convince a casting director to keep watching before they potentially move on. It's intense, but it's the reality. So, how do you make those 3 seconds count? How do you create a hook that stops them in their tracks? Well, I sat down with Guy Chachkes from Reelarc. These guys are the absolute experts when it comes to creating actor footage that actually gets you noticed. They run a showreel creating firm out of New York and LA. And Guy shared some seriously insightful, no BS truth about what makes a showreel scene irresistible. If you want to learn the secret to grabbing casting director attention instantly and making sure your best work shines right from the start, then stick around. You are about to get the inside scoop. Let's jump into it. Guy, welcome, welcome,
Hey,
welcome to Act Bold. Hey, how are you?
yeah. Thanks for having me. Thanks
Yeah,
for this is a real treat. So thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to this because I know that showreel, yeah, it's always the problem, the hanging point. Does it represent me? Is it on brand? How do I know if it's on brand? Is it showing a range of what I can do? How should it be cut? There are just so many questions.
Yeah,
And I would love to get into all of them with you.
absolutely. Yeah.
Great.
Fire away. Whatever questions you
Okay.
have.
Well, I guess let's start first with who you are and how you
Mhm.
got into Real Arc. So tell me a bit
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
So as you mentioned in the intro, my name is Guy Chachkes. I started as an actor. I was an actor back in my home country, a child actor.
Oh,
Um,
where are you from?
I'm from Israel, so
Oh, okay.
yeah, I grew up in Tel Aviv, and when I was in high school, I did like the biggest Broadway stage there. I did Lost in Yonkers as kind of like my first thing ever. I played the young brother Jay, and it was like my biggest claim to fame, I guess. But it was a big show. While being in high school, I was doing that. 4 days a week, and it was incredible. I got to travel the whole country. I got to meet some incredible people, and it really kind of just invigorated the whole acting bug in me. Um, and it was very lucky, I just did an audition. It was 1,000 kids, and I just got it, and I didn't think anything of it because I wasn't really in that mindset. But that really started the whole thing. And then after high school, and once the show was done, I decided to move to New York and pursue acting. And I went to the Stella Adler Conservatory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in New York, which it was incredible. I met some incredible people there. And, and after school, just, decided that I wanted to go a little bit more behind the scenes. So with no real formal training, kind of like picked up cameras, decided to do some short films, and, had one short film that did really well. But from here to there, then tried to, create my features, and was really kind of like filmmaker actor struggling in New York City doing his thing, you know, waiting tables. And that's kind of like where I met my business partner, Steven, waiting tables at this really high-end Italian restaurant. And, he had the idea, or kind of like originated the idea of like, well, some actors need scenes, or actors don't have any footage. And this was in 2014. So it was right after the
Mm,
DSLR revolution. It was still
right.
expensive, but it was getting cheap enough to actually create something very, very cost effective. So, you know, we went to all the actors in the restaurant. We're like, hey, we're trying to do this thing. Do you want a scene? Do you need a scene? And we paired the actors in the restaurant together, all the waiters. And from here to there were like 6 actors from the restaurants that we paired together. And now we have shot now it's about 13,000 scenes since then.
Oh my God. Wow.
So it
Wow.
really started as a run and gun, kind of like we were doing it as we were waiting tables. And then it was getting big enough that I left the restaurant, and then Steven left the restaurant. And then it became kind of like our full-time thing. And we've dedicated our lives to it, at this point. But yeah, 13,000 scenes later, we built studios in both coasts. And we're just getting started. Yeah.
You do beautiful work. You really do. As I was mentioning
Thank
before we
you.
started the podcast, I have a couple of clients and obviously I look at the show reel and really nice. And what I love is that you really differentiate between genres. Like you can just feel like it's a
Yeah.
procedural, it's a this, it's a that.
Yes.
And that was great. Yeah.
One of our biggest, I think, I think the only reason why we have differentiated ourselves is, and I think there's incredible other companies that do incredible work, but I think the reason why we differentiate ourselves is because we are relentless when it comes to creative.
Hmm.
It took us some time to operationalize and, figure out how to kind of like, get so many people through the door. But I think we wouldn't let each other, me and Steven, when we were filming everything. I think I filmed about 4,000 scenes myself, and
Wow.
Steven also.
Yeah.
But I think, and that was the greatest school in the world for us to actually know how to shoot and do everything.
Yeah.
But it was, we never wanted the picture. We never sacrificed what's in front of the camera, right? We
Mm.
always wanted to look the best, right? Just because an actor pays a certain amount, like we wanted to always, to our fault because we weren't making money, in the many years, at the beginning of this, it was really truly about giving value, right? And just creating the most amazing thing because we're creatives. But I think the way that we differentiated ourselves is because we focused on that early on. It's like,
Mm.
don't give up on the image, create amazing images, create studios that help us actually, I guess, create an image that looks even more professional, right? That is consistently professional. And that's kind of like yeah, I think our differentiator.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It definitely makes your reels stand out as opposed to other people's.
Thank
What
you.
do you have an art director or who's doing the art direction on those?
Yeah, so we have amazing people, on set who come in, and that's truly like the entry level job at our. They start as PAs, and then we kind of let them start putting things in front of the sets. There are other companies that have sets, but I think another thing that we differentiate is we really try to art direct the entire environment
Mm.
before the client comes to set. Like we ask them, how do you see this? What do you feel about the world? And we really try to create that. And all of our sets, we strip them out at the end of the day, and we always bring new stuff, and we always try to make every single scene trying to look as the best that it can be. And that's something I'm very proud of, that we were able to actually create that type of differentiation from scene to scene.
Yes, absolutely. So I heard you say you were an actor. Are you no longer acting?
You know, uh, no, I mean, early on, I jumped in as supporting talent if we couldn't find supporting talent. But I'm kind of, I'm currently in the mindset of just building more of Reelarc. I found on myself really what I loved about acting is creation,
Mm.
right? So whether it's creating a character or creating a scene, script, or a business, that satiates me, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be acting, but who knows? Maybe one day I'll get back to it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I find that is very true. Like running a business as well, and I'm still acting, but I am finding like this the creative itch is scratched. Just being an entrepreneur is really creative.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
always trying to come up with new and better ways and.
yeah.
Though I do have a
Yeah.
really good idea for a web series.
Yeah. Oh,
We'll
that's
see,
incredible. And
right?
you should.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
found with acting, for me, acting was really something that saved my life because I was a horrible student,
Hmm.
really bad at school. And the way in high school, I just had a great drama teacher that just told me to, hey, maybe you should come into the drama class. Sorry, you'll see my chihuahua into that. But you should come to the
Yeah.
drama class. And he really was my mentor and really helped kind of like get me through high school, was because I don't know if I would have graduated high school if it wasn't for acting. And then I realized that I had the natural talent, but I to pat myself back, but I didn't have the tenacity, and I was very
Mm.
lazy with my craft. And I learned that, and I knew that in Stella Adler. Um, and I knew that I won't put the work necessary to grow in my craft. And I was
Mm.
kind of like doing it for the wrong reasons.
Mm.
I felt, because, not to go more into my personal life, but, when I say for the wrong reasons, I felt that the accolades or the the feeling that people gave me when I was acting was really what I was after. And it wasn't truly just doing the work on the character. So I decided that wasn't really enough for me naturally over the course of it, you know, I decided that was enough for me to be able to like focus my entire life on. And I can get that from other places in more balanced places because it's very hard when your whole, you know, if you're doing this for the wrong reasons, it's just like to you know, want to be famous, want to get money, want to get love on, it's, those are hard. These things will be very hard for you to sustain a career. Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where I decided no, not to make this
Yeah.
dramatic.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. And I love your level of self-awareness, right? I mean,
It
I
took
think a lot of
time.
people are, yeah, I bet. I bet because it's
Mhm.
hard to know like what is it about this that isn't that is satisfying me and not, right?
Yeah.
And being so honest with yourself about
Yeah. I have to be,
not
or
yeah.
yeah. And I think once you are honest with yourself, you're like, but you still love the, the aquarium, or you still
Yes.
love where you are. How do you develop in other directions and maintain that? So, I mean, I guess Reelarc was a perfect marriage between filmmaking and acting and, and it kept me in there, but I didn't necessarily, have to lie to myself the entire time or not grow in something. Real arc was
Yeah.
something that I was able to grow into and create, yeah,
Yes,
a better
absolutely. And filmmaking doesn't have a pull for you either? Like, like making
filmmaking.
films
Actually, I
feel
think, yeah. I mean, we're working on our first feature right now. Um,
Oh, wow. Okay.
we're actually filming very soon. It was written by the writer who wrote Standing Up and Falling Down, which was a Billy Crystal film with Ben Schwartz. And
Mm.
he wrote this feature, and it's an incredible story about the CEO of Health Aid Kombucha. I'm not sure if you've heard of Health Aid Kombucha, but
I know about kombucha, but not health aid
yeah, it's
kombucha.
like a little brown
Yeah,
bottle. You've probably seen it in stores in the
probably.
US.
Yeah.
But it's an incredible story. And we're so excited to film it. So yeah, we're definitely like going more in direction of original content as well.
Excellent. I love that. That's
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get into what makes a good show reel. So maybe even
Mhm.
just do like a quick round robin, like to put a headshot at the beginning or not. Yes, no.
No.
What it
Yeah.
no. Okay. So this
I
is
mean,
something
go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I find it varies from market to market, but I also find like my answer was very recently someone had asked me this, and I was like, well, before I can answer that, what how does your scene start? Right? Is it
Yeah.
starting on you, the actor? Is it starting on
Hmm.
the back of your head? What?
Yeah.
Right? Do we know who this show reel is for? And he's like,
Right.
yes, absolutely. I said, okay, in that case, you don't need it. But a
Hmm.
lot of times actors will start a show reel on the other character because they think that the
Hmm.
context for that line matters, right? So, and yeah. So let's get
Yeah.
into that a little bit. What are some of the basic things that people need to understand when they're putting together their show reel material?
Yeah. I mean, just to go to the a basic level is the video is king no matter what. So
Mm.
if you get it a show reel produced or it's your first time into acting and you're creating self tapes, you have to have videos on your media page, whether it's spotlight casting networks, actors access, etc. Because on the basic level, you're being sifted through, you're being filtered out if you don't have video footage. So no matter
So wait,
what.
let's stop there for a minute because I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about, but I think a lot of people might not. So
Right.
with Actors Access,
Yep.
yeah, so explain that a bit.
Backstage or spotlight or
Right,
whatever
right.
to make the job easier for the casting person, because sometimes it's a producer or a director or whatever. Um, you have an option as the casting person to sift profiles or submissions only by those who have video,
Yes.
or only by those who have photo. And
Yes.
I would say 15 years ago, maybe photo was something that people were looking at still. If you don't have video on your profile, you're just being filtered out.
Yeah.
So just do yourself a favor algorithmically and create just a self tape just to get video on the platform. So you're just not being filtered out. I would say that is truly base level, right? It's just
Absolutely. Yeah.
try not to get filtered out. Now, if you want to be a smart actor for the future, now it's important to also have your Instagram connected or your social media connected. Because if you don't have that, right, you will start getting filtered out. Because what casting directors are doing now, they're not necessarily, or producers or directors, they're not necessarily looking at the subscriber count. That's debatable. And I'm actually more pessimistic about that. But they are looking to see if you are a real human and a person that they want to work with. So having your social media connected to your account is actually very important, right? And
Wow. Okay.
so if you're going to filter, make sure that, if you want to survive the filters, make sure that your Instagram at least is connected. I think Casting Networks is allowing that now. But in the future, all of them are going to do that. And make sure that you have a video on the base level. From there, you can start optimizing how that video looks like. So from a self-tape, you may want to hire us, or you may want to, you will have a short film that you're going to be doing, and you start leveling up your footage. In terms of how I would structure, this is from like our learning, what makes a great scene or a show reel or a piece of content
Yeah.
is actually what makes every piece of content good. Number one, it hooks you in the first 3 to 6 seconds. Okay.
Okay, sorry for the interruption, but I had to jump in right here because what Guy just said about those 3 seconds is so important. That initial hit, that split-second impression a casting director gets, that's your energy. That's your authentic, energetic signature hitting the room. And knowing exactly what that core energy is, what makes you uniquely you, is the key to making those 3 seconds unforgettable. So if you need some help figuring out what that core energy is, I created the Actor Brand Decoder. It is a quick workbook designed to help you pinpoint your energetic signature so that you can nail that hook every single time. You can grab it for free right now. Just hit the link in the description below this video. And now, back to the interview.
Casting directors, producers, directors, they're all human beings, right? And they're all scrolling the gram, and they're all scrolling TikTok, and they don't have time, and they're watching casting, and maybe they're on their Instagram, whatever. It's an attention economy, right?
Yeah.
So you have to ask yourself, how do I keep the attention on myself, especially if they're casting and they're seeing, 1,000 come through or 500 submissions. It's very important to attract them or have them stay on you as long as possible. So the hook, which is the first 3 to 5 seconds of the video, is very important. So you can track back and say, well, do I have to have a headshot and thing? No. Do I start on the other person? No. You got to start with a great line, a hook in the first 3 to 5 seconds that really, really, really captures their attention. Now, we have done, I can go even more granular into this. We have done some research into our own 13,000 scenes and saw the type of footage that gets attention, because we have scenes that, break through and do 2 million views, and scenes that break through and do, over 100,000 views. And we were looking at all those and we're like,
wait, just 1 sec. I have a question. So you post the scenes on social media and then okay, got it. Yeah.
not all of them, but
Whoever
not all of
agrees
them.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah,
right,
whoever agrees to, yeah.
Right.
But so we have some scenes on our reels that really kind of like break through, and you can go through our reels and see, sometimes there's a lull in how many views and the algorithms change, but there is a common denominator in terms of what really makes an impact. So like I said, it's the first 3 to 5 seconds. You have to make sure that your main character, which is you, is actually making a grand statement. Okay. And that grand statement needs to be very intriguing, right? So it's if you have to think about it, it's kind of like that line in the conflict that opens up the conflict. And more often than not, it's something that has to deal with very pertinent issues in the world. So if you were to create a scene for yourself, no matter if it's a procedural, a comedy, or whatever, I would think about 3 different types of subjects or themes that always get attention. Money, so success, okay? And that could be anything. Success can be, the show Billions, It could be the show Succession. It can be the show. These are things that people want to see. People want to see other rich people having problems. So I
Right.
would say deal with a scene that has to do with money. That could be a procedural. That could be, a rich husband or a husband that killed his rich wife or something like that, right? That still deals with money, actually deals with other themes, and we're going to get into it.
Right.
But
Right.
but deal with success or money, deal with health, right? So all our health-based shows, right? Like so doctor shows, right? But cancer, big problems, um, you know, um, big problems that you can see in the health world, right? Or not
Mm.
problems. Health can be also, um, I found a pill that makes me, undeniable, right? That's also in the health kind of
Substance.
like,
Right.
what? It
Yeah.
doesn't, the substance, exactly. So, and
Yeah.
that's wealth too, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
wealth, health, right? And then another one is love, right?
Yeah.
We all connect to love, but love can be also dark and it can be also, so the show is love,
Right.
right? But it's dark love, right?
Yeah.
And also deals with death, which is health, and if he was a rich billionaire, it would have also dealt with that. And you see how these ideas are actually they're universal themes. So those three themes, I would really focus on your self tapes if you're even starting at a base level. And you can go to ChatGPT and create a script for yourself that has to deal with one of these or all of these. And you'll see how captivating you can make your scene. And this is something that we found from, just posting our scene online. What catches on fire? We just had a
Yeah.
scene on Facebook on Meta that just caught on fire. And it was about a doctor that is not willing a cop to interview a serial rapist. Horrible, I know. Um, and was caught between the doctor's ethics about helping to save this rapist because he's dying, right? Because whatever, he got shot. I can't remember what. And the cop's moral dilemma, but I need to figure out something. And you wouldn't believe the discussion online. Go to our Meta page, go to our Facebook page on Reelarc,
Yeah.
and just see that scene. And you want that discussion to happen because that's attention and it's grabbing. So look in the first 3 to 5 seconds. Make sure that it deals with those three themes, right? In any type of genre, in any type of TV show, right? And make sure that you're actually finishing the scene with a cliffhanger or a question, a moral
Mm.
question, a dilemma. Are you going to do next? What's going to be, how is it going to end? Right? You want to give
Yes.
them more. So if you create that type of scene, right, and you can be very original within that, you will
Yeah.
create the perfect show reel. Perfect. Now you can
Wow.
control that you can control that when you're doing short films and other people's short films, and that's
I was
okay.
just gonna say, yeah, actually, I mean,
Yeah,
it's a whole kind of another, it's a whole different way of thinking about it, right? I
yeah,
mean, because when
yeah.
when you say the hook and all of this, it's because in a film, even a short film, you're thinking about that scene in the context of the whole.
Yes,
So it
correct.
may or may not have a hook. You don't
Correct.
ever
Yeah,
think about that as a screenwriter. Does the scene have a hook, right? You want to
right.
start in the middle, but you're not. I've never heard that with a scene before, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another trick that I tell some clients too, and I tell that to them more when they get co-stars, right? Short films is a little different. I would treat that as its own. At the end of the day, you will get cast in whatever they see you for, right? But
Right.
if you get
Right.
a short film and you get that clip from the short film and it's fantastic, it's not just like a montage of you looking places. Don't use that, right? Because it's not about just you looking, the casting people need to see you actually iterating words and saying stuff.
Right.
So I would say montages of you looking and stuff like that. And, whatever, take that out of your reels completely. But if you
Yeah.
have, and think about what is the hook for the scene? Even if it maybe doesn't have the best hook, but always start the edit from there and only give that. Another trick that you can actually do, which I actually love this trick, is if you get a co-star role, right? And a co-star is like a 5 line and under kind of like role, you know, um, what I like to tell these clients, because we get a lot of people that actually do co-star roles, is I tell them expand the world of that character.
Yeah.
What happens when they go home? What happens because you want to create a scene with that character? If you played a janitor that's saying a line on the pit, right? Just a quick thing. Oh, the casting director, a sequential event in that character's life and create that scene, right? And then you can
Oh,
control it.
wait. Just so I'm clear on this. So create a whole nother scene beyond. You're not talking about a button before or after the scene. You're talking
No,
about something else entirely.
else entirely, but it's that character expanded. So if it was a janitor saying one line on the pit, right?
Right.
How does he, when he goes home and he has to deal with an ailing mother, right? Or something like that, as an expanded thing. So when you put your reel together, it's almost a sequential event that happens that makes you look like you had a bigger role. And not only that, it opens up the other casting directors are seeing you. It opens their eyes. Are like, oh, here's what this person can do with a bigger role in that. And it's a great follow-up tool. If you're actually getting
Yes.
cast by a co-star for a co-star role as a janitor or whatever, and you send that co-star, the assistant or the casting director, casting director, it's like, I was so inspired by that character. And by you just giving that role, I've expanded that role world and I've created a scene I just wanted to share with you. And
I
they may watch it.
love that. Yeah. So I would. How long do you recommend it be? Like under a minute
Yeah. I mean, I would say 60 seconds to 90
max.
seconds max.
That long even. Okay. So
Yeah.
there was something similar that a casting director I worked with years and years ago was recommending. And he was saying, like, do anything between 10 and 20 seconds and
Hmm.
tell them, like, within the first, the first sentence, 20 seconds, make it a hot link. I've expanded, I've whatever it is. But I've never heard of he never said expanding the character. It was like if you
Yeah.
saw a breakdown and you're like, I think I'm good for this, then you should create that world for that
Hmm.
character and send it in. And I loved that idea. And this is sort of in that vein, but
Yeah.
I think it's even smarter because it gives you've already got the relationship because they've already asked you to.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. A lot of actors
Yes.
think that now that they got their co-stars, yeah, there's the adrenaline and the fun thing. It's like, oh my God, I'm finally like, one of the 3% of people that actually work in this business. And, I'm going to get my co-star. But this is a perfect strategy to level up from co-star to guest star that actually makes a difference because there's not much that you can do other than audition and starting to like get more co-star material. But if you start producing, a little bit of these co-stars, you're basically telling casting directors, I see you, I see what you think of me, and I'm gonna work for you. I want
I'm
more
going to
of that.
show you. Yes.
Right. I
I
want
love it.
more of that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. That is
Yeah.
because it's a visual business. We have to show them. Nobody's going to take our
Exactly.
word for it.
Yeah.
So,
And
and that's
it's concrete advice. Like there's a lot of like, how do I get from a co-star to a guest star? It's like, I mean, there's 1,000 ways to do it, but this is the way that actually worked for us that we saw.
yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love it.
Yeah.
So does that mean you're helping people with their self-tapes as well? And you've done that in the studio and expanded on it? Or was this just advice that you kind of came up with?
No, I mean, we've done this with several co-star actors and, it's not a self-tape. We actually create a scene around, we expand that world. Um, and we saw that it worked. I mean, people are starting to book guest stars and bigger roles in films, but with those specific characters, which was very
Wow.
cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very, very cool. And it's
Yeah.
original, so it's great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm curious from the filmmaker's point of view, the screenwriter's point of view, how do you give both characters in the scene a hook?
Well, that's not the job because really for us, our client is the main person. The supporting talent are just people that come in and help, right? And
Okay.
their job is to be fully supporting. When we work with schools, so the full circle is now, I went to Stella Adler and everything. We work with, almost all the big conservatories in New York and we do things for all their students. Those are the times where we actually need to take care of both characters in the scene.
Right.
Sometimes these scenes are longer, but they get edited differently for two different actors. So we
Yes.
are able to actually create that, create a meaningful hook for both of them. But typically for, our individual clients that come in, we really just focus on them. That's the only person we're focusing on.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. And the length of a show reel,
When we say a show reel, like one scene or like a full show reel,
a full show reel.
I would say you don't want it to be more than 2 minutes at this point.
Okay. Okay. I had heard
Yeah. Your best 30
216, which was
seconds.
very specific.
Who's
This is a showreel editor out of London who was saying no more than 2 minutes and 16 seconds.
Love it. Let's
And
go with that.
yeah.
Yeah,
But I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I know it's, it's around there and all that. So yeah, you were saying about 30 seconds per
Per
scene,
clip. Yeah, per
per clip.
scene. Yeah,
Okay.
because
Okay.
yeah, even with our scenes, we recommend to kind of like cut it down if you're going to put a show reel together,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I think the show reel itself, different market, different, especially different markets, but um, individual clips I find to be more important nowadays. Like keeping those, bless you,
Thank you.
keeping those clips separated, I think is a lot better than having
Yeah.
one full show reel because you don't want them to get lost. You know what I mean? You want to have
Looking for what
separated
they're looking for. Exactly.
exactly.
Exactly. No, I
Yeah.
agree. And actually in Europe it's the same. They
Yeah.
do clips as well. But sometimes people will just want to see like what do you do? And to have it all together in one place or whatever. And I think it's smart to have both just in
Yes.
case
Yeah.
somebody doesn't want to spend 10 minutes
Yes.
looking at all your different material. But I also
Hmm.
think it's also really smart to label your material with your castability.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
You gotta eliminate any type of question from their mind
yeah.
because that will just make them, wipe, right? For lack of a better term. So you
Confused
really
minds
want,
don't cast. That's what I always
yeah,
say. They,
confuse minds don't cast.
right,
Absolutely.
right,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right. Yeah. So, okay, there's so many things about it. So, is there anything that people should avoid?
Um, I mean, there's a lot of things to avoid, I guess. I think everything is permissible. Anything to avoid. I mean, I would avoid putting a title card. I would
Mm,
avoid doing the headshot thing and your phone number and your email. It's like, don't worry. If they want you, they'll find you, right? And they'll get you, right? So don't
right.
waste those precious seconds. I mean, I'm talking about like you got seconds, right? So
Right.
don't waste those precious seconds on like a fade in and a fade out of a title card because it's meaningless. Get
Yeah.
to the hook as quickly as possible. So I think that would be the number one thing that I would avoid. And I
Okay.
would tell actors like also figure out the market that you're in. If you're
Mm,
in London, you got to figure out what is filming in London. And if you are creating material in those three themes that we're talking about, you know, the kid is not shooting in London. Right.
right.
So why would you ever have something like that on your reel? Right. Or why would you, create something? You have to be savvy about the market that you're living in. And unless you're willing to go back and forth or, play in a completely different market, then I would say just make sure that you know where you are. And if you are producing something, that it makes sense for that market.
Yes, absolutely.
One second, my dog is like crying. So one second. Hold on.
Oh, is that what that is? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, my dog is like losing its mind. No, you can't. Here, sit here. Sit here. Your mommy's just all right.
That's okay. That's okay. I heard something and I was like, what is that little noise in the
Yeah, sorry
background?
about that.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I have a dog. I have a border collie.
I have come
Um,
here, come here, come here, come here. Sorry, 1 second. She's just like I have two chihuahuas and they're tiny little thing.
yeah. Yeah.
Um
Okay. So, okay. Where were we? I forgot. Let's see. We were
we
talking
were
about
talking
what
about
not to
things to
do.
avoid.
What,
Yeah.
yes,
Mhm.
things to avoid. So, is there anything that I haven't asked you about a show reel that someone should know?
Nope, I think we kind of got into one thing to note is that when you do start getting more co-stars and they're meaningful, they have lines on it, you can start eliminating the scenes that you've done before that, right? So, start showing more professional work. I mean, our whole mantra is like use this until it's like you've got something and then you can start replacing, right? The idea is you're constantly building your reel, constantly, always. I mean, for the rest of your career, you're going to be building your reel. So, you always refine it and remove things that you're no longer on that level. Yeah. Which is another good note to talk about, which is, any kind of video is great, but always remember that casting will meet you at the level that you're in. So if you are a self-taper, right? If you just have self-tapes, it tells them, oh, they haven't booked anything yet. I don't know if I
Yeah.
can trust them on set entirely.
Yeah.
If you have a co-star level, they're meeting you in the different level. right? If you have a
Right.
guest star, they're meeting you at a different level. So you're
Yes.
always going to be the level that your footage, your marketing materials are presenting you in. So that's something to keep in mind. Everything that I just said from this entire conversation is crap if you are the most talented human. If you
Mm,
are a talented actor, my service doesn't make sense. Does nothing. It can help. It can put you in context. But trust me, if you're a talented person, just I mean, and it's hard to know if you're a talented person, right? It's like, people will tell you so you can get into the thing, but talent will trump all. Talent will trump all rules and all regulations that we put on it.
yeah.
Everything can help and can create more context for them, but talent will trump all. So if your self tape is like, man, wow, then you can get cast in the next whatever film, right? Which is a
Right.
very thin chance, right?
Right.
Because 99% of actors doesn't happen, and you don't want to leave that up to chance. But it's important to note that I don't want to sell people that you have to from the beginning have all these things, because talent will take you far. It just depends how much strategy you want to put into your career. And I would say, as a business owner, as whatever, you want to put a lot of strategy into your career in the beginning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, there are a lot of talented actors out there. There really are.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and more so today than there were like when I started studying acting, like, a long time ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just the level of authenticity, the level of truth that people
Hmm.
are telling, the nuance
Yeah.
the caliber is just so much higher. And so anything that you can do to what I'm always telling my clients is what you want to be doing is creating for the casting director that vision of where you are capable of going,
Yeah.
so that
Yes.
you're not leaving any doubt in their mind that you are
Absolutely.
a full professional ready to rock up and do whatever role that they cast you in. But if you're
Hmm.
only showing them, the crappy, not even showreel scenes, because I think you can do amazing stuff with showreel scenes. And I will
Hmm.
often recommend that as well. If you don't, not showreel scenes, self tapes is what I mean.
Self tapes. Yeah.
Right, right. And I'll often recommend that as well, as long as
Hmm.
as long as everything is good. Is your lighting has to be good, your sound has to be good. That you have to look like you know what a professional actor is doing when they're doing a
Right.
self-tape. But
Right.
beyond that, as long as everything technically is good, it works if you don't have anything else. But I think that there are also ways to create small scenes for yourself if you can't afford a service right off the bat, or your show reel is not reflective of what you're capable of doing, right? And some of that is just, hey, stick your phone and put it in cinematic room. Just make sure you're mic'd up,
Of
right?
course.
But
Yeah.
and put it,
And a lot of people
yeah,
don't understand that sound is actually more important than picture.
yes, yes,
Sound is way more important. If you have a self tape and it just, it looks crappy, but the sound is crisp, then everybody will forgive picture, but they won't
yeah,
forgive sound. So if you
no.
want to focus on one thing, is that.
And especially because when you're mic'd up, when when you have sound, it gives you the freedom to to go inside and out and not have to be projecting with your voice. It's you just speaking like you would intimately to someone else if they were in the room with you. And
Absolutely.
so yeah, it makes a big difference. But ah, so I had a thought and it's gone. Just flew out of my head.
I That happens to me all the time. I can't believe I can put a sentence together, to be honest.
Yeah. So I know you offer several different packages and you're starting to offer classes. So tell me a bit about that, because that sounds like it's a really great way for someone who maybe isn't ready to invest in a full self tape or self show reel package, self tape, show reel, self tape. Then yeah, tell me a bit about that and what people would get from that and how that could help them.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had classes for the longest time, but we have partnerships with schools everywhere and conservatories, and it's really their classes, and we power like the scenes in the end. We basically create the show reels in the end. But we realized that with this like age of uncertainty with AI and people working from home and, not having, that actors really are craving a place where they can, sorry, where they can really have a community. And we wanted to help, create this community for them. So we are starting our in-person classes in our studios. And the way that our classes are different is that you get to actually do on-camera classes, ongoing on-camera classes, in a professional setting that is not only a black box, it's actually a studio with lights and an actual film set. So you're learning truly how to become a professional with us. And it will be a revolving. So we're starting with one class because we don't want to jump the gun. So we're starting with one on camera, ongoing. And
Can I just stop you
go
one
ahead.
sec? Something's making a lot of noise. I don't know. Do you hear it?
Is it me?
There's like this. I'm not sure.
Is it
It's like
is it better?
really,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
I
Okay.
can't hear it. I can't hear it,
Okay.
but
Okay. Okay.
but
Let's just.
sorry about that.
That's
Mm,
okay.
hmm.
So you were saying about so it's
Yeah.
going to be a revolving door at
Right.
first,
Yeah. No, it's gonna be a revolving class.
a revolving
Mm,
glass.
Yeah, and it's going to be like a monthly class that people can just subscribe and get into, to practice their craft with scenes, actually lead with footage. It's not going to be edited footage, but it's still going to be great footage. And you can build up, the more you're subscribed, you can build up to actually get your own scene. So, you basically build up the credit, the points. If you're doing like 6 months with us, right? Then you built up enough to actually get 2 scenes for your reel, and we'll actually create scenes for you. So the idea is to help actors, feel more comfortable in front of the camera before actually taking the leap and maybe doing a full scene. So it's a double header where they're going to be able to practice in bits and
That's
yeah.
such a good idea. It always reminds me, like, I mean, I've been acting a long, long time, and I think I've maybe had 15, 16, 17 photo shoot, headshot shoots in my life,
Right.
right? Be about
Right.
every 2 years, something like that. And it's one of those things that how can you be really good at something if you're only doing it once in a while? So it makes perfect
Right.
sense to get people really comfortable in front of the camera, knowing
Exactly.
where their light is, knowing how to hit their mark. So they're not wasting time and worrying on the day about things that are technical, things that
Yeah.
have nothing to
Exactly.
do with acting, right? That it's
Yes.
just like know your skill, know what you need to do, and then go
Exactly.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So this is kind of like a prep class, right? It's an
Mm.
always there prep class that actors can take, treat it as a regular acting class, but the more you stay in it, the more benefits like getting new scenes you can get from it, right?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
just how it's going to work. Yeah.
No, it's a great idea, and we all know. I mean, it's been a weird few years, so people have had lags between shooting days and stuff, and
Oh yeah.
lags.
Oh yeah.
So it makes sense to also just like be, not only working on your craft at Stella Adler or Susan Batson or wherever, but also
Right.
to be working on,
Practical.
understanding camera moves, right? So this is
Exactly.
one. Do you know Per Holmes? Are you familiar with him? He's the one who
No.
he created shot. Uh, um, oh damn it! I forgot the name of he created an app that is used on like 90% of all film sets,
Is
and
Sean? No.
not shot deck. It's like how to plan out your.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like a shot list type situation or
Yeah, where to
a
put the
mapping out.
camera and
Oh,
I
okay.
think so. All of
Got it.
that kind of yeah.
Got it. It's like a visualization tool. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so. I mean,
Like a
it's been a
pre
while.
got it. Okay.
Yeah. And I had, he's a somewhere between an acquaintance and a friend, and he was on the podcast as well.
Great.
And
Awesome.
one of the, at one point we were kind of talking about a lot of times actors don't understand the different camera movements and
Mhm.
how you can let the camera do some of the heavy lifting for you,
Worse.
right? So if and that is also just kind of practice. So I'll just, for people who don't know what I'm talking about, like if the camera is, you know, dialing in and going into a close up, you hardly have to do anything because the
Mhm.
audience is projecting what you're thinking, what you're feeling. You
Right.
don't have to
We're coming
be
into your emotion. Right.
yes, yes,
I
yes,
mean,
yes.
it goes deeper into the sense of like knowing camera lenses and knowing each lens focal length because for example, Tom Cruise knows the best set of lenses that he likes to be shot in, you know, like he knows what lenses make him look best and what lenses
Yes.
to play with. He knows that if you are on a 35 millimeter lens and you're super close up, what does that do to
How
your
does that
face?
distort his face? Exactly.
Exactly. How did that,
Yeah. Yes.
but that helps the
Yeah.
emotion as well, right?
Mm.
If it's like, a 25 millimeter lens and it's a little bit on top and it's like looking at you, that's very Handmaid's Tale, like very close,
Mm.
distorts the face. So it's like once you learn these things, and you are going to learn that in our classes, you know what I mean? You will be a smarter actor. You will know
Yeah.
how to, you'll have practice and you'll understand, you know what I mean? What it means. Some people don't even know when you tell them we're coming in to your coverage, right? It's like, what coverage, what, who, what? So there are important things that beginner actors and some people that are returning to the industry that can really learn from being on our sets.
Absolutely. So will you be doing this in different levels? Like,
Yeah, so we'll have a core one. We're going to
yeah.
start with the core acting, and then we'll see if we're going to do an advanced one that actually also includes some behind the camera work and kind of trying to, make you a more of a 360 actor. So what the job of DP is and how lighting affects you and all that. So we'll start with core, which is really about the acting and you know what I mean, and how to have the camera help you and all that. And then probably an advanced one that has a little bit more of the general, of the set. Yeah.
Mm.
Surrounding.
Yeah, that's so smart. I wish I was in New York. That sounds
I
like a
wish you
fun
come
class.
to New York. Yeah.
Yeah.
You take it for
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next time you're in New
Yeah.
York, just please, drop by. It's going to start
Yeah.
June 2nd. June
Okay.
2nd
June
is our first.
2nd.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
hmm hmm
And then every month after that. So people just need to check
Yeah.
out
You
Reelarc
can
and
just come in. Yep.
yeah.
And we're thinking about it. I think if you stay for 3 months, you'll be eligible for one scene for your reel. If you stay for 6 months, you'll be able for two scenes and so on and so forth.
That's so fair. I mean, that's such a good deal. I'm not, I would
We're
just be like, oh,
trying.
that's nice if it was, but it really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, we know it's a struggle, right? It's a struggle
Yeah.
for a lot of actors who, for whatever reason, haven't, don't have the finances or haven't figured out how to support themselves or whatever it is. And so it can be
Exactly.
and acting is expensive. You have to keep up
Absolutely.
your craft and your headshots and your show reels and
Absolutely.
your editing and all the casting
The whole
portals
thing.
and yes, the whole shebang. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And I know that you also work a bit on branding. So tell me, what does that look like? What kind of
Yeah.
questions would you ask someone?
I mean, our whole mantra on branding is that it's not a frou-frou thing,
Mm,
where, you have qualities, that match with, archetypes, right? That can really help identify you and make you more specific in a role. It's not about, for us, it's not about anyone with a brand. There's like when I say anointing,
yes, I know exactly
you
what
know
you
what I
mean.
mean. You know
You
what I
are
mean.
this. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
Yes. And some people crave that because it feels very final and it feels very like it's off of me now, right? Somebody told
Mm.
me what it is, but then you're trying to do it, and you create these scenes with it, and it doesn't work out, and blah, blah, blah. So for us, it's really, and we actually developed a GPT for it, which is fun. It's a fun workout. It could just talk to Chat GPT, but it's specific GPT that we created for it. Maybe I can send that to you and you can use it. Um,
I think I
and
actually
just,
sent you mine.
oh, did you really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I sent you
Oh,
the
awesome.
brand decoder. Yeah. Which
Oh,
is also a
awesome. Fantastic.
GPT. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And yeah, for us, it's really about, archetypes, um, and where you see yourself fit, what feels good, right? And continuing to iterate on that. The brand grows with your career. What you're going to be, what you're now doesn't mean that you're going to be, 20 years from now. So it is kind of like a movable thing and you have to continue to work on it. You know, I am a firm believer that you can do the work on the brand and you can present yourself. It's basically, when you're working on brand, it's basically strategy. It's like you're putting your best foot forward with your footage, with your brand, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, the industry will tell you where they want you at the beginning, right? And once you start clicking into that, even if it wasn't what your brand was or your clips or whatever, you gotta seize that, right? And
Yeah.
that's where it comes when I say like, expand a CoStar that you got and all that. But once you're starting to get meaningful paying jobs, that's basically the industry telling you that it's like, this is what we think right now. So you
Yeah.
got to like play into it, play into it, play into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
very practical look into branding.
And how long does it take to, how is it, are you just doing the GPT, or what does that look like?
No, I mean, we do have our agent showcase packages, which are kind of like the ones that I'm the most excited about, where we help you with brand through one-on-one conversations with our co-founder, Steven, my co-founder, Steven, who is really the expert in it. Um, and so we do these one-on-one conversations, really nail down a brand, and then we create all your scenes, your headshots, and we pitch you to agents and managers in our network. So we truly, we do have like a comprehensive thing where we take you from brand all the way to getting representation, which is like kind of like our more exclusive
Hmm.
white glove service. Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, great. Okay.
Yeah.
So the what I always ask everyone is, this is the name of the podcast, is Act Bold. So tell
hmm
me about a time in your life that you acted boldly and something unexpected came from it that was good.
This is I know exactly. I mean, you said it. I was at the restaurant. Um, it was kind of like a high end restaurant. It was across from the Four Seasons in Manhattan and in Midtown. I had a table come in. I've been there for a while. It was 4 years already, and we already started Reelarc, right? And it was going well, but I was really scared to leave the day job because it was paying the bills while Reelarc, we were shooting basically for free. We were charging actors, but nothing that could really sustain us.
Right.
And I remember, you know, a guy comes in. It's a full restaurant. It's a full restaurant. Friday night. It was like oh no, it was a Thursday night, the hottest night of the week. The hottest table 63. I'll remember that because it was also the bus I took to school. Table 63 open. It needs to stay open for this guest that may or may not be coming in. And I was really mad, because I was like, this is like the best table. It can be like a really expensive table. I can make good tips on that. But the manager kept on saying, no worries, you want this table. It's a great table. If this person comes in, it will be a great table. So this person comes in with like, purple glasses, sits at a table, didn't know who it was. He was in a sweatpants, in a sweatsuit. And I go up to him and like, oh, okay. Most wealthy people, don't look wealthy. And he did not look wealthy. So I was like, he's definitely wealthy. I went up there. I was like, oh, this is going to be a great table.
Right.
So I went up to him and asked him, can I get you anything to drink? And typically at that restaurant, people order, at that night of the week, people will order like really expensive bottles of wine. We're talking about like, $500 to $5,000 at least. And, and you know, he orders a Blue Moon beer.
Mm.
And when a person orders a Blue Moon beer or a bottled beer, you're like, oh my God, here he goes, because you make money on the alcohol, right? This
Right.
is a long
Right.
story. I'm gonna get to it very quickly. But he was very nice. He was very sweet, but I tell the manager, it's like, what is this? He's just waiting here. He says he's waiting for his daughter, for his son and his wife, who eventually came, but it was like they didn't drink. They were all drinking water.
Mm.
I'm always optimistic and I always keep myself open. And I was, I'm very proud to say that I was a very good service person. I think that's what also makes Reelarc a good company. We modeled it over hospitality, but, I stayed so nice to him or whatever, and and he really liked me. And I remember at the end of the meal, he goes, he asked me questions about like my life and what I want to do and all that. And, uh, and I can remember he's saying that he was traveling. And I said, where are you staying? And he said, I'm staying in my hotel across the street. And he didn't say a hotel across the street. He said my hotel across the street. And there's only one hotel across the street, and that's the Four Seasons.
Okay.
So at the end of the meal, he handed me his credit card, and it's a black Amex or whatever. And it says his name, Ty Werner. And I actually didn't know who Ty Werner was, but it was T.Y. Werner. And I Googled Ty Werner. It's Ty Babies. I don't know if you know what Ty Babies is.
Oh, the like Beanie Babies similar,
The Beanie
right? So
Babies.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But he owned the Four Seasons and he
Oh,
owns
wow.
Beanie Babies. And I was like, wow. And he's a billionaire. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. And I decided that I wanted to kind of like take a leap of faith. And I went up to him and I said, from one person that wants to be successful. And I told him about Reelarc and all this stuff. And I said to him, from one person who's successful to like, who wants to be successful to one who is already successful. What kind of like, what can you, give me? What is that, And
What
he
kind of
said,
advice?
because
Yeah.
what kind of advice, and it was, I don't know. That was the bold moment. And he said to me, because we already talked about Reelarc, he's like, do you love Reelarc? Do you see yourself doing anything else right now? You know, he was like, geez, then quit this job and
Mm,
focus full time on Reelarc, even if it doesn't make you money. And I was like, okay. And I actually handed my 2 weeks, I think the next day. That's it.
wow.
And
Wow.
that was the moment. And I remember we were filming scenes from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., going to the restaurant, doing a double shift, and then
Oh,
shooting a night scene
oh my
from like
God.
9
Yeah.
p.m. all the way down. So I was already killing myself to the bone. But anyways, that
Yeah.
was my bold moment, was asking Ty
I
Warner what
love
he
that though.
thinks. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but there were so many aspects of that that were bold, right? It was the
Yeah.
asking. And I think that this is something often people are afraid to ask. And
Mhm.
you have to think in that situation, and you framed it really, really well by saying
It,
from somebody who wants to be successful to somebody who is successful, what advice would you give me? And it was an easy lift for him. It was no skin off his nose to tell you,
None.
to ask you a question, to talk to you for 3 more minutes about it, and then give you like straight advice from his heart. Take it or don't take it. Now,
Yeah.
if you were my client, I would have said,
Tell me.
you know, y-
Yeah.
well, I would have said you should have followed up with him and told him
Right.
that you took his advice and you quit. And this
Right.
is what you're
I should.
doing, and thank you. And yeah,
Yeah.
but you know what? Frankly, you could still do it. You could say, I don't know
Oh,
if you remember
absolutely.
me or not. Yeah, but you changed my life, because this
I
is
sh
what I've done. Yeah,
And
you
also, I
never
saw a
know.
movie. Zagalic Finakis played him in a movie with Elizabeth Banks, and he doesn't seem like the most amenable person in his life. But truly, I should actually follow up with him. There's a lot of people I should follow up. That's actually
Yeah.
also an important thing is to follow up with those people. But yeah,
Yes.
asking, I was in a very open time in my life where everything was a possibility, right? So
Yeah.
taking and I think it's great. I was hating my job. I hated everything, you know what I mean? So I think it's a very good place to be, where it's like, you're all everything is an opportunity ahead of you,
Yes.
So
Yeah. And
yeah.
keeping that kind of child's curiosity and openness, that
Yeah,
mindness, can be challenging going forward, right? Because we get a little bit
absolutely.
cynical with life and
Absolutely.
maybe a
Things
little
will
lazy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's something that I always have to, think about, okay, what's next? Like right now we're thinking about how do we bring Reelarc to businesses and how do we do that? And we figured out a solution for it. And I'm finding myself actually in the beginning of where we were with Reelarc, where I'm asking people, you know what I mean? Hey, can we just shoot this for you for free? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we're doing basically vertical narrative series for brands now, and casting real art people, and it's using whatever. But I'm going to people and asking, hey, can we shoot this for free? And that's exactly what we did with real art, and I find it very fulfilling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's something that I would say to a lot of actors is like, you never know where opportunity is going to come, and be willing to do it for free. Be
Be
willing to do it for
scrappy.
free.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
scrappy.
There's we're getting long with this episode, but
Yeah.
there was an actor I just interviewed a week or two ago, Clayton Ferris. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's an Instagrammer. He's super funny. He's got, I don't know, almost 250,000 followers on Instagram, and
Mhm.
he's parlayed this into much bigger roles, direct requests, everything like
Yeah.
that. But it started out with him just, he was like, nobody was like falling over themselves to give me a job. So I decided to give
Exactly.
myself a job.
Well,
And he
one of my
just kept
friends,
doing it. Yeah.
yeah. One of my friends is Chloe Feynman. We went to Stella Adler together. I don't know if you know, but she is on SNL. She's the main cast
Oh,
member
okay.
on SNL. And she started by doing funny videos on Instagram. And,
Yeah.
for 6 years after college, she was like kind of flailing around, not knowing what to do, but she actually picked herself up and start doing content on Instagram. And was really, really funny. And eventually SNL called and now she's like a huge sensation. So
Yeah.
it's like, be willing to put yourself out there, be willing to do stuff for free and just continue to experiment with
Yeah.
things.
Don't lose
Yeah.
your love for it, right? Because I
Don't.
think it's the love that keeps you doing things because you love the
Sure.
art. You love you
Sure.
love acting, you love writing, you love filmmaking, whatever it may happen to
Exactly.
be. But as
Exactly.
long as you keep that in the forefront of your brain. Well,
Exactly.
Guy, where can people get a hold of you?
Go to reelarc.com, reelarc.com, where you can, see all that we offer. You can actually reach me directly at guy@reelarc.com. So that's GUI at reelarc.com. Yeah, feel free to reach out. Any questions or anything like that. I'd be happy to help.
And Instagram is at Reelarc as well.
Yeah, I would go to @reelarc. My Instagram is just pictures of my chihuahuas and babies.
Okay, yeah.
I should
So
take
they
I
can
should take
find
my.
those. No, I was going to say so they can find the video or the scenes that you were talking about that did so
Oh
well.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Go to @Reelarc and you can go through go through all the reels and you'll be able to see kind of like the fluctuations. But yeah, definitely
yeah.
go there.
Get a good idea of what makes a good hook and all that. I love that.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Well,
Cool.
thank you so much. And for
Of
those
course.
of you listening or watching, let us know in the comments what your biggest takeaways were. If you had any like, wow, okay, I didn't know that about anything, whatever it may happen to be. And make sure and tag us if you end up using some of Guy's great tips in your next showreel or self-tape. So until
Awesome.
then, you all stay your bold. Do that one again. Until next time, you all stay your bold and beautiful selves. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Let me turn this recording up. It's not moving. Come
It's
on.
awesome.
There it is. Yeah, good. That was really fun.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah. So it looks like you are